Okay.
That. John, are we live? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All set? Okay, great, thank you. So good evening. It is 7 o'clock and I call to order the Policy Committee meeting of Monday, April 18th. This evening, we are reviewing two policies, both of which were in the Shipman and Goodwin Fall Policy Update, and both are required policies as noted by Katie. The first RPS policy to review is 6146, graduation requirements. The last time it was revised was 10/22/18. Shipman and Goodwin have revised this policy in light of sections 10 and 12 of Public Act number 21-144, which repealed the statutory provisions that permitted students to graduate from high school upon the successful completion of the Academic Advancement Program established by the State Board of Ed. Specifically, they removed the section entitled Academic Advancement Program. You will notice the last paragraph is stricken, Academic Advancement Program, as well as some technical edits throughout the policy, and also a shift in course credits for graduation requirements with classes graduating 2023 and thereafter. We have our exceptional administrative team with us this evening. And since this policy is part of the 6000 series, which is instruction, I want to acknowledge their help in advance in guiding us through any questions that we may have. So with that, I will open it up. Any questions with this policy, with the revisions presented in front?
Rachel, if I could just add something, if you don't mind.
I have one. So I'll just throw this out there. Sure, absolutely. Go ahead, Ms. Gillette. I apologize.
Okay. I think we're on a little delay. So it was interesting because I did get a little confused when I saw policy was up, because it's really not about changing graduation requirements in terms of courses. It's really about changing a way that kids were able to graduate. It was a certain program designed by the state. Dr. Greenwood hadn't been able to recall a student using that pathway for graduation. So we're not thinking that it's going to have an impact on our students. But it did take us a little bit of digging to figure out really what the intention of this was. So as far as we understand, it is just removing this alternate way for students to graduate and not altering what is in place for requirements across the different course loads and other grad requirements. So I just wanted to add that. So this isn't a big, exciting change. This is really a change that's being brought about by the state.
Thank you, Ms. Gillette. Selena, Tom, any questions, comments?
I'm good. Thank you for that, Corey. I think other people might want to know that. That's good. I'm good.
Are there any, I was looking at, and this is in the policy, it says classes graduating in 2019 to 2022. And then there's a section, classes graduating in 2023 and thereafter. That's set from the state level, I'm assuming. So is there any change in there that as a district will have impact on our students moving forward as far as credits go? No. Okay.
No, I can just speak to it just for the good of the order. We're shaking our heads, but the world doesn't know that. No, that won't impact it. And after we get through this graduating class, we could review the policy and take out the up to 2022, but at this point we can't remove it because obviously we haven't got the 2022s across the stage yet.
Okay. And Dr. Greenwood, that was my follow-up question, so thank you. So we want to leave it in there for now.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I don't think I had any other questions on that. Tom, Selena, are we good on this one? Any questions? Okay. All right. So this policy can move forward then for first read with the full board. Thank you so much. Next policy to review is RPS Policy 6146.1. The last time this policy was revised was 11/8/99. It is weighted grading and calculation of grade point averages. Section 13 of Public Act number 21-199 revises the Connecticut General Statute 10-220G, and it provides that a Board of Education must have a policy concerning the manner in which students' grade point averages are calculated. The policy must include whether grade point averages are weighted or not weighted. I want to turn this over now to Ms. Corey Gillette, who has revised this policy for us accordingly. Ms. Gillette?
Okay, great. So I'm going to talk about the revision of the policy first, and then I'd like to go back to the original policy and talk about what's in place there, unless Dr. De Silva, you think I should do it the reverse.
I think I might do it in reverse,
Okay.
Corey. And this is slightly different, Rachel, than our conversation recently about this 6146.1, but I think when Corey describes what we're recommending, I think you'll be able to follow along, as will the rest of the board members.
So if you look in your packet and you look at our current grading policy called Grading Practices, which is in place now, after a little deeper dive into what we currently have, what we realized is that this weighted grading portion of it, the part that we're being asked to revise, is one part. And then what remains is another part that we do need to maintain, which is communication to families about how students receive grades K-12. Because the beautiful revision that my team did with Dr. Greenwood on weighted grading really only deals with high school. But as we looked at other districts, all other districts do have a general grading policy K-12. So what we're proposing is that while tonight we can work on this weighted grading portion, and we should revise this and institute this as a new policy in our district, we would also like to come back and work on revising a grading practices, a general grading practices policy K-12 for our district. And Susie can talk more about the numbers because that confuses me a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, it confuses me a little bit too. But so what you'll see is the new policy that says Shipman, the one that looks like this. This is one of the small edits, Rachel, that we've made since our discussion, is we're recommending that this new policy, the one that says weighted grading and calculation of grade point averages, that this policy be numbered 6146.11. And the reason we're recommending that is because we would like to, at a future board meeting, perhaps our next board meeting, our next policy meeting, or the one thereafter, that we revise this 6146.1 to be more general, because not only does it encompass, it encompasses weighted grading, but it also talks about student progress or students' reports in grades 3 through 12, but it's missing, and we don't have a policy that describes grading at all, K-2. So what we'd like to do, and I apologize, Rachel, for not coming back to you sooner on this, but it was a small discovery this afternoon, is that we'd like to be able to keep this one as 6146.1, which when we come back, we're going to remove the weighted grading pieces. And we're going to make this generalized to reflect current practice and to include grades K up. And then the new policy would be a 6146.11. We can't change it to 6146.2 because there's already a policy that's 6146.2. That's, I think it's technology maybe. So that wouldn't work. So according to the recommendations of how we've handled this in the past, it would be a 6146.11.
Sure.
Does that make sense? So we're basically peeling apart one piece of it creating the weighted grading calculation as we were requested to do, and then going back and creating a more general grading practices policy for the district for next time.
Yeah, I think that sounds perfect. We're following the law as far as what we need to do on the weighted grading, and then we're going to go back and revise grading practices to tailor it to Richfield and our system here.
Right, and to encompass all grade levels.
I think that's wonderful.
3 to 12. Great. Okay, so when you look at the weighted grading, really the purpose here is for us to communicate to families how we, something on my screen, how we calculate grade point averages. So you can see that in the second paragraph, there are grades that we believe deserve additional weight in terms of calculating grade point average. And those are classes selected with honors and college level courses. And that refers us to, and the policy refers people to the high school program of studies. So we didn't list out every single course, but we did designate that select honors courses and select college level courses do carry more weight. So we wanted to make sure that if there are other courses added, so for example, right now, and Dr. Greenwood, you can correct me, right now, a college level course that gets the 1.0 bonus, it happens when students take one of the UConn college courses. So if we were to have something else in our program of studies similar to that, we could add it without having to come back to the policy. So it does give us leeway in which specific courses are going to have those weights. But I think the team did a good job in designating the difference between honors and college level and what that weight would be. Again, the purpose is so that parents understand how grade point averages are calculated, and referring them to that handbook. The course program of studies, we feel like, is the best place for them to look, but in general, they understand the different categories. There was one other part of this policy that we did not add. And again, Dr. Greenwood, I hope I can explain this right. But what the policy was also asking us to do was talk about not only calculating grade point average, but determining class rank. So Dr. Greenwood, maybe I'll let you explain what our current practice is in that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. So we don't rank. We haven't ranked for many years, and now that does the rest of the DIRG and most of the state doesn't rank. We determine a valedictorian, and it's actually in the handbook how we determine a valedictorian. Simply so that the valedictorian could report that to colleges, but then secondarily so they can give a speech at graduation. Beyond that, we don't rank at all. We alphabetically give the names of the top 10 students to the media the last week of school. So no ranking whatsoever. So we left that the same. So we didn't want to we didn't put all that into the policy because it's in the handbook. So we refer people back to the student handbook. And the same for the actual weight of the grade. So math, science, English, history, world language courses at the honors level or 4th and 5th years of a language get a 0.5 bump in a grade point average, be weighted. AP and UConn get a 1.0. And that's simply exactly the way it sounds. For instance, if you got an A+ in a course and that's a 4.0, and if it's at the AP level, we would denote that as weighted grade, a 1 point bonus, meaning we put that down as a 5.0. So it's just a straight calculation that Power School does. 0.5 for the honors classes plus 4th and 5th year language, 1.0 AP and UConn. And that's a long-standing weighted grade, I should say, that predates me and is consistent with area schools.
Rachel, just in terms of that previous policy, the 6146.1, most of the changes that are in this new policy, the 6146.11, the shifts would start with, it is the policy of the Board of Education that, all the way really up until the second to last sentence where it says grades assigned to students' report card. So all of that, this is why it's a little bit confusing because this is a combined one, would be removed from the 6146.1. And then depending upon how we want to use the language to describe grades K through 12. So you can see what Corey was saying in terms of the combination of this policy. The majority of it reflects the changes that you've outlined, Rachel, but there's this small vignette that talks about grading practices in grades 3 through 12, but really it's 3 through 8. And then it's missing the K2. So when we come back, we'll denote that in the 6146.1.
Absolutely. No, that sounds like a plan to me. Absolutely. Very clear. Any questions? Selena?
I know I've heard some questions about this. I don't know the answer. So I think I know the answer when my daughter was in school. But are children with 504s and IEPs, are they allowed to take the honors classes and the college classes?
Of course.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, any child is able to take any course. And we have what's called open enrollment. So there's always prerequisites, which might be to get into a course, meaning you just have to completed algebra before geometry. Teachers make recommendations, but parents and families ultimately can override into the vast majority of our courses. So we have a wide variety of students in every single course at every single level.
I thought that was the case. I think maybe there's been some miscommunication with that. And I'm glad you all clarified that. That's why I wanted to ask that. I was thinking I was giving people incorrect information. I was like, that wasn't the case a few years ago. I didn't think.
No. Yep.
Okay. So then this policy 6146.11 could go forward then to the full board for a first read. And then policy 6146.1 will come back at another policy committee meeting and we'll revise accordingly. Okay, great. I think that's it before I adjourn. Anyone? Dr. De Silva?
No, thank you, Rachel.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a really quick meeting. Motion to adjourn?
Best meeting ever.
Tom? Tom, second?